This month from Big Finish, there is a lot to look forward to. There's ghosts, Zygons, Daleks, Ford, but there is one lost story which I would call particularly exciting. In fact, do you know what I'd call it? I'd call it a genesis, specifically the genesis of the Cybermen. Big Finish are tackling Jerry Davis's original submission back in the 1980s for a story which told the origins of the Cybermen as he saw them. We've had Spare Parts, which tackled this theme, and of course, World Enough in Time and The Doctor Falls on TV looked at perhaps an alternative, World Shapers. It's an idea which has been, it's well-worn ground, I suppose, and people have been using that against this release somewhat, saying, oh, I've heard Spare Parts already, thank you. But this is the original, the original. It's going back to that submission and trying to faithfully recreate how Jerry Davis envisioned his co-creations with Kit Pedler. And it features the Fifth Doctor, Tegan, Nyssa, and Adric heading to Mondas, where a king is dying in his castle and a scientist is looking for the salvation of his race. It also seems to have a bit of an arc-like twist to it, where halfway through, the TARDIS crew end up some years into the future, so presumably we get to see the Cybermen in their infancy and then advance much later on. Producer and director David O'Mahony said, the Cybermen have been one of the Doctor's greatest moments throughout the ages. Jerry Davis's ideas about their origin never made it onto TV, so it's a total pleasure to bring this story to life with Peter Davison's Doctor. Setting it pre-Earthshock gives it the feel of a brilliant prequel to the impending Cybermen stories that we know and love. And for those of you who are unfamiliar, some of these lost stories are almost like what-ifs of Doctor Who. And this one seems to be falling into that category where it doesn't neatly slot into canon. It's more made as a interesting piece of history, so you don't have to worry about mind wiping or anything like that at the end to make Earthshock make sense. It's just its own interpretation of the concept instead, which I think is probably the best way to tackle this, as if it were to be produced in the 80s.
From one 60s monster to another. Susan's War. Not Susan, she's not a monster, but we've got some 60s monsters. We've got the Carlids and the Vord. As Susan's War continues with two stories, Last of the Carlids by David Llewellyn, The Vord Alliance by Andrew Smith. Matt Fitton said the War Doctor's jumped a time track. He's back where he shouldn't be in Gallifrey's past, and he has run into Susan, and things are getting a bit awkward between them. This is not a version of her grandfather that Susan knows. They've a lot of work to do and getting to know one another again. Writer Andrew Smith added, it's an interesting setup because we have a Doctor who doesn't want to be called the Doctor, and we have an older Susan who has forged her own path, and she's not a companion, but is a Time Lord in her own right, often leading the way, a lot above putting her grandfather in his place. So Susan's War continues for the latest instalment.
If you enjoyed January's box set Zygon Century, then there's a little bonus coming for you this month in Rictus, a Torchwood monthly range story by James Goss set in 1901, the beginning of the Zygon Century, featuring the gung-ho daughter of Queen Victoria, Princess Beatrice, 6 months after her mother's death, looking into the organisation that she's inherited, which is, of course, Torchwood. And there seems to be a smiling Zygon involved in this story who looks rather creepy there on the cover. So, if you're into your Zygon Century, which certainly had some more mature themes than your usual Doctor Who box set, then it'll be interesting to see if this, being a Torchwood release, naturally exploring mature themes a bit more, takes that even further because I'm certainly creeped out by that smiling Zygon and those weird baby things in the background.
Carrying on the Zygon love, we have Paternoster Gang Last Stand. So spoilers for Paternoster. Trespassers, the Zygons are behind this big series this time. So it's the Silurian Great Detective versus an elusive criminal mastermind as the Trespassers arc comes to its climax in Last Stand. But there's a doctor to help. Paul McGann, after appearing in the first set, he's back again to conclude this Paternoster series. So in this set we have I Married a Zygon by Alan Rowland, A Passion for Fashion by Helen Goldwyn, and the final Problem by Lauren Mooney and Stuart Pringle. Producer David Richardson said, "So, at last, the Paternoster Gang have discovered the truth about the shape-shifting nemesis, and now face the final battle with Brotak, the Zygon. How brilliant to have 3 Doctor Who aliens, a Silurian, a Sontaran, and a Zygon, in a fight for survival. Prepare for an epic finale."
Ace and Tegan, the pairing that until the power of the Doctor came along, we didn't even know we were crying out for, said producer David Richardson on the latest The Death and Life of River Song box set. Sophie and Janet made such a huge impact, he continued, when they returned for Jodie Whittaker's last story. And in this latest River Song box set, we get to explore the lead up to that. How did Ace and Tegan first meet? How did they encounter River Song is a story told over decades and not necessarily in sequence. River has encountered many formidable things, but is she ready for the explosive properties of both Nitro 9 and Tegan Shabanka? This box set is written by James Moran and Roland Moore. James Moran writing the first story, Castaways, and the last one, The End is the Beginning is the End. And Roland Moore writing the middle 2, Driftwood and Dead Rising. Now, Ace and Tegan, both older and younger, feature across this very timey-wimey box set with the opening and closing stories featuring their older selves, while Driftwood explores Ace during her time in the TARDIS, and Dead Rising explores Tegan during her time, showing how both of them first perhaps met River Song, and then how River Song first met them. It's all over the place. It's what you'd expect from River Song and her rather messed up timeline.
Gosh, that sounds a bit complicated. The whole world took a funny turn. That's a Fourth Doctor quote, isn't it? And we have Fourth Doctor in March, don't we? We have the Hellwood Inheritance. The Fourth Doctor and Leela return for Series 14 of the Fourth Doctor Adventure. That's crazy. So we have a 4-parter of the Hellwood Inheritance by Alan Barnes, where we see the Fourth Doctor and Leela go on a ghost safari. That just seems very classic Fourth Doctor. I'm sure it's going to be a lot of fun. And then we have The Memory Thieves by Phil Morine, where the Fourth Doctor and Leela arrive on a colony world, so that's already feeling very 70s. And there's this strange electric pulse detected in the forest, and the pulses seem to get a lot stronger, and then people start to lose their memories. So who is stealing their memories? Well, I guess we'll find out in The Memory Thieves. I don't think it's David Richardson, but David Richardson says, "As I write this, I'm blissfully enjoying the Blu-ray release of Doctor Who The Collection Season 15, and happily reflecting how lucky we are working with Tom Baker and Louise Jameson on Big Finish, on brand new stories in time and space." So off we go to revisit some lovely Fourth Doctor and Leela adventures.
So it's not a big month, Big Finish, isn't it, I'd say. I think February for us as mainly Doctor Who fans and collectors was a bit of a calmer one.
It sort of bookended because you had Brain Drain early on, and then you've got Call Me Master to sort of close the month off, whereas this seems to be pretty much a Doctor Who release every week, I would say.
Are we looking forward to some Fourth Doctor 5 years on?
I have to say, yeah. I think Alan Barnes, I really enjoyed his stuff, what he did with like the comic adaptations. I think he gets Tom's comedy, the Fourth Doctor's comedy, very well, and I think that's going to be a real highlight. I mean, the trailer's not done much for me, but normally when a Big Finish trailer's a bit ropey, that's deciding that it's going to be a really good release.
Funnily enough, yeah.
So yeah, I'm hoping for this one. I'm really looking forward to it because yeah, there's some good stuff happening within this. I think Paul Moran's a good writer.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen the pitch for the first story, The Held Inheritance, as Jurassic Park, but with ghosts. It seems to be a more contemporary one. I don't know whether
Mm,
that's going to be contemporary to us or contemporary to like the 1970s. But either way, I think that's an interesting approach to take this story. Uh, yeah, I mean, I'm just looking forward to some classic feeling Doctor Who with these ones, I think is what excites me most. And I do really like that cover. I like how it
yeah,
jumps across the two stories. And also, there's just something classic feeling about it, like almost earlier Big Finish Fourth Doctor covers.
yeah. I
It's
think
good.
it's strange to get excited about the Fourth Doctor because like yeah, the covers really sold it to me because you just think oh it's another Fourth Doctor series, but having this you're like oh this looks a bit special.
Yeah, I think particularly the Leela ones, Leela releases in general, as much as we love the character,
Mm,
there's something about her presence in these Fourth Doctor stories that doesn't always bode well for whatever
yeah,
reason. I think it often comes across as this is the filler series because they used to announce them so many at a time
yeah. You used
that
to
we'd
get
be
like three
thinking,
series.
oh, we've got Anne Kelso and this great syndicate master plan to look forward to. But first, we've got a leader series to get through. Almost, it may feel like filler at times, but I think now we're at a point where they're reining themselves in a bit more. We don't know what's coming after this, and so that
Yes.
allows us to be more excited for what's right in front of us rather than, to throw a Star Wars quote in there, always looking to the future, to the horizon, never our minds on what we should be listening to.
Yeah.
Uh, uh, I mean, Doctor Who wise, Genesis of the Cybermen, how are you feeling about that at the moment?
This has been a weird one
Mm.
for me because I was excited when it was first announced and I was like, yeah, that'd be cool. And then the cover was revealed and I was like, oh, I'm not really feeling it anymore. And now
Oh,
because it's getting a bit closer and closer, I'm starting to get more and more excited for it.
hopefully a trailer will come along that'll clinch it for you.
Yeah, because I've done a little bit of research on it.
Mm.
And it is so bizarre because you've got these very sort of Tolkien-esque names, and the ending for the story, if it sticks to the original ending, that's going to be very much for the fans.
Mm.
Yeah, it's interest. It's an interesting curio, I feel. So yeah, I think it's going to be one that you're either going to be with or not because it's quite
Mm.
very out there, I would say.
Yeah. But I like that its existence isn't there to compete with or, retroactively remove things like spare parts from continuity. It's very much its own. What if Jerry Davis actually had got to write this, if they had made it in 1981/82 and had the season 19 crew in there, how would that have worked? How would they have approached that? And also, I like the writer David K. Barnes says he's kept a lot of Jerry Davis's weird science in there that doesn't really make any sense, but it's sort of part and parcel of
It's
his
part of the
style of
charm.
Doctor Who.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, I think I'm looking forward to it. I don't know how dark to expect it to be because, I mean, obviously, body horror, Cybermen being created, the 10th planet design, it all alludes that the cover's definitely leaning into that with that wonderful cross section.
Hmm.
But at the same time, everything else I've heard about this does not necessarily scream that sort of story. So I'm just curious to see how it's going to turn out in that respect. Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean,
I think it's the one I'm most excited for in March.
ah, hmm. I think probably same with Fourth Doctor as a close second.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
Yeah. I mean, anything else that's really tingling your molecules from March?
I think Torchwood, you know. which is
You're going to pick
rare
up a
for me.
Torchwood for
I,
it.
I, I am. I'm one of those suckers. I see Zygon. I see a Doctor Who monster on the cover. I go, oh, I buy that.
I mean,
Um,
you got the Mara, didn't you, last year?
yeah, I'm perfect Big Finish marketing in
Hmm.
that sense that I'm like, yeah, we'll stick a classic monster in it. They'll buy it. I am that person. I will buy it.
I also attempted to buy Trespassers last stand then.
No.
I suppose you get your Zygon kick from Rictus at least.
Well, I've stood my ground. I normally pick every Tom Baker Big Finish up, but I didn't pick up Paternoster with Tom in, so I'm like, I'm not going to start now. I'm not going to go back. I've been good. There's enough Big Finish coming out this year where my money needs to go on.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean I know that Ace and Tegan is one of those things that you pre-ordered before we even knew what this set was, didn't you?
Yeah,
So you're stuck with it whether you want it or not. But how are you feeling about it?
I just kind of feel a bit by it.
Ah,
It just feels very. We've just rebranded River, but it
hmm.
feels very classic Diary of a River song box set. But it's
Yeah.
just with the new title.
Because it's not even got a different theme song to it. It does very much seem like just a relaunch for the sake of a relaunch to try and get more people on board. But it's still very much the same format, it's still doing what the previous series was doing. Yeah, I mean, Last Words was something very special. It got this new range, it got it off to a very strong start. And yeah, I hope that this continues that. But at the same time, I don't know whether it's going to justify this weird relaunch they did, which ultimately doesn't affect what the stories themselves are doing. Yeah, I'm excited for those middle two episodes though, and how it overall ties together with River Song meeting the younger versions of these characters during their times with the Doctor, because it seems like they're going to be essentially Doctor Light episodes with
Hmm.
River Song is how they're approaching that. Yeah. So on the whole, yeah, I think I'm looking forward to it, but not as much as say Genesis or Old Inheritance.
Yeah, I mean, I'll listen to it eventually.
Hmm. And finally, Susan's War. We've not spoken about.
Something we've not listened to.
We still not listened to Family Ties, the previous set.
Yeah,
I
maybe
think
we need to listen to that before this one.
I think we should.
Yeah,
Uh, yeah, I mean, Jonathan Carley is amazing. Andrew Smith's writing one of these.
that's a
He's
big
always
pull.
a strong writer.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
he did Domain of the Void, the first early adventure. That was really good stuff. So yeah,
Hmm.
yeah, it'd be great to have more Andrew Smith because I don't think he's written a Doctor Who story in I think since what 2019, since Emissary of the Daleks. I want to say.
No, he's done at least one since. And Beyond War Games,
Oh yeah, yeah,
the
that's
Ice
right.
Warrior, Wrath
Yeah,
of the
yeah,
Ice
yeah.
Warriors. Yeah, no,
I
I
stand
think that was
corrected.
his most recent one.
Yeah.
Yeah, certainly he used to write for Big Finish a lot, and now it seems to have slowed down a bit.
He's been more on the Star Cops stuff.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's probably where his attention's been mainly focused. But, yeah, I mean, no Star Ops this month, sorry to
No.
say. But let us know what there is out this month that you are most excited for down in the comments below. And please like if you've enjoyed this video, found it informative at all. And we'll see you all next time.
Bye
Goodbye,
bye.
everyone.